Hey guys, my name is Jillian and I'm going to be going over chapter 7 today from our textbook, Seeing is Believing, an Introduction to Visual Communication, with my fellow group members, Caitlin, Ricky, and Jasmine. We're going to be covering television, which is described as the ever-changing mosaic. So first, a little bit of what we're going to be covering. First, we're going to go over the television image, followed by the television screen, television genres, the commercial, analyze the commercial, television news, televised hearings, music videos, video artists, zapping or channel surfing, and video recording devices, and then we're going to wrap all that up with a conclusion. So first, the television image. The television image is described as a mosaic of constantly changing dots or pixels. It differs from film image because of the amount of data that is given, and theorist Marshall McLuhan suggests that the medium is the message, which helps us distinguish between hot and cool media. So a hot medium is a high definition, low participation. So this is something that you kind of just view, you don't engage with as much, such as film, radio, photographs, lectures, and books. And then cool medium is low definition, but high participation. So television, telephone, cartoons, speeches, or seminars, you're thinking about it more, predicting what's going to happen, and engaging with the content. So McLuhan believed that the medium of television altered our sense ratios or patterns of perception because people do not always watch with undiluted attention. Basically what he's saying by this is that oftentimes we have the TV going in the background while we're doing other things, and we're not necessarily sitting in front of the TV giving it our full undivided attention. So for the television screen, first we're going to cover television versus movie screens. So television screens are much smaller than film, which gives the viewer a smaller close-up image and gives the illusion of being with others and has psychological implications. It can generate pseudo-companionship, which is an electronic intimacy that is illusionary and unreal. So basically, because we watch certain TV shows either like every day or like maybe once a week when it comes out, we develop more of a connection with those characters, even though they're not real people. And then television takes place on a Z-axis, which means that action generally moves toward and away from the viewer, which makes the viewer directly involved and relies on close-ups, while film takes place on an A-B axis, meaning action moves left and right of the screen. So like that instead of like that. And then lastly, talking heads. Programs with talking heads are programs with no variety of camera shots. The program is conventionally seen as dual, but there are many programs that fit this description that are extremely entertaining and interesting and diverting, namely talk shows, where you have a bunch of people sitting around a table, and it's just shot from one angle, but they're all engaging in a discussion, and a lot of these shows are very popular, although they do fall into the category of talking heads. And then the textbook said, if one of the functions of television is to bring personalities to the viewers, there is nothing in the talking heads format that prevents this from being done. And now I'm going to pass it on over to Ricky. Thanks, guys.
So there are three main genres of television. They're particularly interesting in terms of visual communication. They would be the commercial, the news program, and music videos. The commercial is especially interesting because it's the cash cow that finances all television. And we must recognize that there's a distinction between a medium such as television and its program genres like commercials, news shows, sports, sci-fi, soap operas, etc. The commercial is the most important genre in television. A statistic from 2008 shows that advertisers in America spent around $170 billion on all media, which is a decrease from 2004 where they spent 245 billion. Conversely, advertisers spent 17.8 billion on internet advertising in 2008, which is an increase from 2004, which was 5.6 billion. As a result of the high cost of creating and airing commercials, commercials are getting a lot shorter and must compress their message into as little as 10 to 15 seconds. This compression of information has an impact on the visual aspects of commercials. So instead of having like an establishing shot like a lot of films do and commercials used to, nowadays they kind of just plunge viewers into the middle of the action. An important aspect of the commercial is how the actors portray the message, and they usually do this through body language and facial expressions. So in order to sell as quickly and convincingly as possible, they have to exaggerate their body language and facial expressions a lot. So if you ever tried turning off the sound and simply just watching a commercial, you'll see that many of the characters and actors greatly exaggerate these facial expressions and body language. The exaggeration kind of counters the brevity of their performances and the disbelief that viewers bring to commercials. These performers also use their voice, props, sexuality, humor, and anything else that they can use to convince viewers to buy a given product or service.
I'm going to be going over how to analyze the commercial. So when analyzing a commercial, there are 7 topics to consider. The first one is narrative structure, where you ask questions like, what happens in the commercial? Is there a narrator? What is the narrator's function? Is there conflict, and how was it resolved? Is there action, and what is the significance of the action? So number 2 is characters, where you basically want to know everything about the characters, who they are, what relationships exist among them, their demographics and possessions they might have, things like facial expression, style, color, hair, age, and clothes. So the third one is dialogue. So you want to ask questions like, what kind of language is used? What voices do they have? How will they help sell the product or service being advertised? Does the commercial use rhetorical devices such as metaphors, association, and alliteration? Moving on to the setting. So basically, where does the action in the commercial take place? Does the setting have any significance? Are there props used that have any importance? How is the setting used to give viewers certain impressions? Visual images and sounds, where you basically want to know how many different scenes are in the commercial, how is the color and lighting being used, are there any references in the commercial? Does the commercial have music? What effect does that have on it? So number 6 is the viewers. How does the commercial relate to attitudes, ideas, myths, beliefs, and values? How does it use information viewers already have to then sell them on a product or service? Number 7, the product itself. What is the product's function? How do you use it? What does it tell us about the social and political considerations? Does it reflect alienation, anxiety, conflict, or stereotype thinking? Moving on to television news. Surveys indicated that most Americans get their news from television programs and think that news shows are more believable than stories in newspapers. Even though cameras don't lie, the person who controls the camera can determine what is being presented to the public. In television news, it's important to combine visual and written elements, like signs, charts, and graphs, to effectively convey complex information. News programs aim for realism, but often incorporate dramatic elements to entertain and create excitement for the audience. Newscasts follow a common visual format, with either anchors at their desks or field reporters. They only get 30 minutes for their newscasts, including commercials, so they only provide headline-level information. Critics argue that televised news tends to focus on visually engaging stories, potentially overlooking more important ones. To gain an in-depth analysis and background on a story or event, print media is suggested, or specific programs like the News Hour with Jim Lear. Televised hearings. Televised hearings in court proceedings like the O.J. Simpson trial have become a significant genre in television. They can have a substantial impact on politics, affecting careers of politicians and even presidents. These broadcasts aim for objectivity but can influence perception due to factors like camera angles and lighting. These visual elements can shape public perception, often overshadowing the actual content of the proceedings. Aspects like camera angles and lighting can convey messages that are more powerful than the spoken words of those being filmed. And now I'm going to hand it over to Caitlin.
Okay, so for this section, we're going to be talking about music videos. Our first term is surrealism. Surrealism is a visual style that is dreamlike and nonlinear. It's full of flash forwards and flashbacks, and it makes use of fantastic images and distorted perspectives, and it's full of special effects. As you can see in this image below from Lynn Hirschman, which was used in the textbook, it's very dreamlike and uses distorted perspectives with the different frames within the picture. So there's lots of visual excitement, and it can lead to information overload. The videos can trigger such a wide range of emotions that people are unable to get these impacts from other outlets. So as you can see in this picture over here, it uses distorted perspectives and fantastical images, and it's more dreamlike. And then in the next slide, we're going to talk about video artists. So video artists can have a completely different idea than that of their client. They often find themselves using their videos as a form of expressing themselves. These videos frequently have sociological and ideological dimensions to them. They're manipulating the different aspects of the video to express themselves, as you can see in this picture. Now, in the next slide, we're going to be talking about zapping, also known as channel surfing. So zapping or channel surfing is when a watcher is clicking between channels regularly. Studies say that more than 50% of teenagers do this. This is making television advertising very ineffective and creating a big problem for the advertising agencies. It's reducing television to its most simplest form, which is a series of pictures to be scrolled through. Now we're going to talk about video recording devices. So video recording devices are preventing television advertisements from being productive. People are able to pre-record their TV shows and fast forward through the commercials, and this is creating a higher need for product placement, which product placement is where they put products in TV shows where they will be obviously seen in order to get viewers to be interested in their product without the need for a commercial. So as you can see here, this is Eleven from Stranger Things. I'm sure most of you have seen the show. They have a Coca-Cola as a prop in this scene, which is excellent product placement because it's getting you to look at the Coca-Cola and think about Coca-Cola without slapping you in the face with a commercial or some other form of advertisement. Now we're going to head to the conclusion with Ricky to wrap all of this up.
To conclude, from the first section, television differs from film because the images are smaller and engage the viewer more. Hot media is low involvement, while cool media is high involvement. Television moved on a z-axis, meaning toward and away from the viewer. Talking heads are programs that do not use multiple camera angles, and they are traditionally thought to be dull, but this is not always the case. For the second section, commercials are the most important genre of television because they finance all other television, and commercials are getting shorter, which means actors must be more exaggerative. For the third section, televised news and hearings represent crucial elements in our media, and understanding the different aspects that go into them is essential for informed media consumption. Lastly, in our fourth section, Music videos and video advertisements are extremely effective in today's age, but the placement of the videos or working with a television series is extremely important to have the viewer actually receive the intended message. Thank you.